If you found a diary in your employer's bedroom and the very first page said, "Do not trust the servant she kills without leaving marks," would you read the next line? Or would you pack your bags and run for your life? I read the next line, and that was my first mistake. My name is Emily Carter, and the story I am about to tell you started 3 months ago on a gray Monday that smelled like rain and disappointment. I was sitting in my car in the parking lot of a grocery store, staring at my bank app. Balance 17.42, rent due in 2 weeks, student loans choking my future, and a message from my ex-boss at the hotel, "Sorry again. Nothing personal, we had to cut staff." My phone buzzed with a new notification. Live-in housekeeper needed, discreet, reliable, generous salary, room board included, must be comfortable with unusual hours and strict rules. Apply today. Hawthorne Estate. I should have felt the warning hidden in those words. But desperation is a powerful anesthetic. I clicked apply. The Hawthorne Estate sat on a hill above town, surrounded by old trees that leaned toward the house like curious spectators. The driveway was so long I lost sight of the road behind me before I even reached the front steps. The mansion wasn't the kind of place people lived in anymore. It was the kind of place they filmed documentaries about. Huge stone walls, tall windows, dark slate roof. An old bell above the front door looked like it hadn't been rung since the 1920s. I pressed the doorbell and jumped when it actually worked. The man who opened the door had the kind of face you remember even if you only see it once. High, angular cheekbones, dark blonde hair that was starting to go silver at the temples. Eyes the color of steel, calm and sharp. "Miss Carter," he said, as if he already knew everything about me. "I am Dr. Samuel Hawthorne. Thank you for coming." His voice was smooth, warm, almost musical, made you want to lean in. It was the first thing about him that felt wrong. I stepped inside. The foyer smelled faintly of furniture polish and something floral jasmine, maybe. Portraits of serious-looking people lined the walls, their eyes following me as I entered. The floors were dark wood, the kind that gleamed even in low light. "This way," Samuel said, and I followed him down a long hallway to a sitting room with tall windows and heavy curtains. A woman sat on a velvet armchair near the fireplace, even though the fire wasn't lit. She was wearing a pale blue dress and a cardigan despite the warmth. Her hair was dark and glossy, pinned up in a neat bun. She looked like someone had carefully arranged her there, like a prop. Her hands, though, betrayed her. They trembled in her lap. "Emily," Samuel said, "this is my wife, Clara." She looked up, her eyes large and glassy, like she'd just finished crying. "Hello," she whispered. Her voice barely carried across the room. "Please sit," Samuel said. I sat on the edge of the sofa, feeling the cushion sink under my weight. Samuel remained standing, hands folded loosely behind his back like a teacher watching a nervous student. "You've worked in hospitality," he said. "Hotels. Cleaning, organization. You have no criminal record, no history of violence, no family in the state, and no long-term commitments. Is that correct?" The way he listed my life sounded clinical, like reading lab results. "Yes," I said, "that's right." He smiled, but his eyes didn't change. "We value privacy here," he continued. "We require someone who follows instructions carefully and does not ask unnecessary questions. In exchange, we offer a generous salary with what you were earning at the hotel, plus room and board. The job is live-in. You may leave on your day off once a week, assuming everything in the house is in order. Twice what I earned at the hotel. That number alone was enough to make my heart race. "May I ask," I said slowly, "why the last housekeeper left?" Clara's fingers tightened around the armrests of her chair. The tremor in her hands worsened. Samuel answered before she could. "She was not a good fit," he said simply. "I should have pressed. I didn't." "The most important quality in this position," he said, "is obedience. Do you follow instructions, Miss Carter?" The question felt heavier than it should have. My mind scrambled to attach it to something ordinary: cleaning schedules, meal prep, laundry, normal things. "Yes," I said, "I do." He nodded as if he'd been waiting for that answer all along. "Excellent," he said. "You're hired, just like that. No second interview. No references checked in front of me. No contract I could see." I didn't question it. That was my second mistake. I moved into the Hawthorne estate 2 days later with a suitcase of clothes, a box of books, and the remaining $8.19 I hadn't spent on gas. My room was on the second floor, all the way at the end of a long hallway lined with old photographs. It was nicer than any place I'd ever lived: soft bed, big window overlooking the backyard, a small desk, a wardrobe bigger than my entire closet back at my apartment. On the bed, someone had laid out fresh sheets, folded blankets, and a card. The card was handwritten, elegant cursive on thick paper. "House rules: the attic is strictly off-limits. Do not close your bedroom door at night. Do not enter Mrs. Hawthorne's room unless invited. Do not speak to Mrs. Hawthorne alone after sunset. Do not open the basement door. Do not give Mrs. Hawthorne any medication unless Dr. Hawthorne approves. Do not discuss the previous housekeeper. Under no circumstances are you to invite guests. If you hear noises from the attic, ignore them. If a new rule appears, follow it without question." At the bottom of the card, in smaller writing, "Welcome to the Hawthorne estate. We are a family built on discipline and trust." I stared at the rules for a long time. Some of them made a twisted sort of sense. No guests, of course. Medication controlled by the doctor husband, sure. But the others: don't speak to Clara alone after sunset. Don't close my bedroom door at night. Ignore noises from the attic. I told myself rich people had weird habits. I told myself I needed the job. I told myself I could put up with anything for a few months. I slid the card into the drawer of my nightstand and unpacked my clothes. That night, I left my door open. I didn't sleep. My days quickly settled into a routine. I woke at 6, showered, put on the plain black dress and white apron laid out for me in the wardrobe, and headed downstairs to start breakfast. The first few mornings, Samuel hovered by the kitchen door, watching silently as I moved around the space. He never offered help, never got in the way, just observed. "You're very efficient," he said once as I balanced 3 plates and a pot of coffee. The last one dropped everything by the 3rd day. The last one again. The house, I noticed, never spoke her name. Clara ate very little. Sometimes she just pushed food around her plate, hands shaking, hair slightly messier than the day before. Her eyes were ringed with faint purple shadows, like she hadn't slept in weeks. Their daughter, Luna, fascinated me. She was 10, small for her age, with long dark hair that kept falling into her face. She spoke softly, when she spoke at all, and always seemed half absorbed in a world no one else could see. She drew constantly. Little sketchbooks, loose sheets of paper, napkins, anything became a canvas. I'd find her curled up in corners of the house, drawing with fierce concentration. Once, when I cleared her plate after lunch, a drawing slipped to the floor. I bent to pick it up. In it, a figure was standing in a narrow space, arms stretched upward, hands chained to the ceiling. Their head hung low, hair covering their face. Above them, in shaky letters, she had written the one who came before. Before I could ask, Samuel's voice cut into the moment. "Luna," he said sharply, "go to your room." She snatched the drawing from my hand, crumpled it, and ran. When I turned back, Samuel was watching me with that same thin, unsettling smile. "Children have such wild imaginations," he said. I didn't answer. In the afternoons, Clara would drift through the house like a ghost, moving from room to room with no clear purpose. Sometimes she sat by the window in the library and stared into the garden, lips moving silently. Once I knocked on the doorframe. "Do you need anything, Mrs. Hawthorne?" She startled like I'd woken her from a deep sleep. No, thank you," she said quickly. Too quickly. I am fine. Her hands clenched in her lap, knuckles white. I wanted to ask if she was happy, if she was safe, if she needed help. But Rule 4 throbbed in the back of my mind: do not speak to Mrs. Hawthorne alone after sunset. I checked the time. It was 5:17 p.m. Close enough to make my skin crawl. "I'll be downstairs if you need me," I said instead. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something. Then her eyes flicked toward the hallway behind me where no one stood. Her shoulders sagged. Of course, she murmured. I left, but the image of her empty eyes stayed with me like a stain. On the 7th day, a new card appeared on my nightstand. Same paper, same neat handwriting. "If you find something that does not belong to you, return it to Dr. Hawthorne immediately." I looked around the room. Nothing seemed different, but the new rule made me feel like something had already changed and I hadn't noticed. That night, lying in bed with my door open to the dark hallway, I heard it for the first time. Thump, a dragging sound, a distant scrape from the attic. My heart hammered against my ribs. I told myself houses made noises. Old pipes, expanding beams, wind. Then I heard something that was not pipes or beams or wind. I heard a voice. A woman's voice, muffled but unmistakable. It sounded like a sob. My body moved before my brain gave permission. I slipped out of bed, bare feet silent on the wooden floor, and peered into the hallway. It was empty, but the noise was clearer now, directly above me, above the hallway, above the 2nd floor, the attic. Rule 1, the attic is strictly off limits. Rule 9, if you hear noises from the attic, ignore them. I should have gone back to bed. Instead, I took one step into the hallway. Then another. At the far end of the corridor, a narrow staircase led up to a small door. I'd noticed it when I moved in, written it off as storage. Now it looked like a mouth. My hand rose toward the banister. "Emily," the voice behind me made me gasp. I spun around. Luna stood in the shadow near my door, her hair a dark curtain around her face. "Don't go up there," she whispered. "He doesn't like it when they go up there." "Who?" I asked. She tilted her head as if the answer were obvious. "Daddy." My skin prickled. "You should go back to bed," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. "It's late." "You should too," she answered, "before he hears you." For a moment, I wondered if she was warning me or threatening me. Then she retreated to her room without another word, closing her door softly behind her. I stood in the hallway, heart pounding, staring at the attic stairs. The noise from above had stopped. I went back to my room and lay awake until dawn. Days blurred together. Laundry, meals, vacuuming, quiet footsteps in long hallways. But beneath the routine, anxiety kept building like pressure in my chest. Clara grew thinner, her hands shook more. Sometimes I found her standing at the bottom of the attic stairs, staring upward with a look of pure dread. Once I couldn't stop myself. "Mrs. Hawthorne," I whispered, glancing around to make sure we were alone, "is everything all right?" She flinched, then studied my face like she was trying to solve a puzzle. "You're new," she said softly. "You still think you can fix things." My throat went dry. "Fix what?" Her gaze flicked toward the top of the stairs. The door to the attic was closed, but it felt like something on the other side was listening. "Don't let him take you up there," she said. "Who?" But I knew. She looked past me down the hallway towards Samuel's office. "If he knows I told you," she whispered, "he'll adjust my medication." Her smile then was the most terrifying thing I'd seen in that house. She leaned close to me, fingers gripping my arm with surprising strength. "You have to leave," she said, "before you forget who you are." "Forget who I?" Footsteps echoed at the far end of the hallway. Clara dropped my arm and stepped back, shoulders slumping, expression going blank. Samuel appeared, hands in his pockets, tie loosened. "Everything all right here?" he asked. "Yes," Clara said quickly. "We were just discussing laundry." His eyes moved from her to me, then to the attic stairs. For a moment, I thought he'd ask if Wed'd been talking about the attic, if Wed broken his rules. Instead, he smiled. "Emily, I'd like you to help me with something in my office," he said. "If you have a moment." I did not want to go to his office. "Of course," I said. Obedience. Every time I chose it, I felt something inside me shrink. Samuel's office was on the first floor, near the back of the house. Unlike the rest of the mansion, it felt clinical. White walls, metal filing cabinets. A large mahogany desk with neatly arranged items, pens, stacks of paper, a locked drawer. Bookshelves line the walls, filled with medical texts and psychology volumes with titles like Behavioral Conditioning in Clinical Settings and The Science of Obedience. "Close the door," he said. The way he said it told me this, too, was a test. I closed it. "I assume you've noticed that my wife isn't well," he said, leaning against the desk. I've noticed she seems anxious," I said carefully. "Shaky. Tired." He nodded as if my observations were data points on a chart. "Clara suffers from a complex psychiatric condition," he said. "Paranoia, delusions, episodes of dissociation. Sometimes she becomes convinced that people around her are dangerous, that they're trying to harm her or our daughter." He watched my face as he spoke, gauging every twitch of my expression. "She might say things that seem alarming," he continued, "especially after dark. You might feel tempted to believe her, to help her." His smile sharpened. "Consider this your warning," he said. "Her illness is manipulative. The more you listen, the more she pulls you into her delusions. And in this house, Miss Carter, we cannot afford that." I swallowed. "Yes, doctor," I said, because that's what he wanted to hear. He clasped his hands together. "Good. I am glad you're reasonable. Now there's something else I need from you." He moved to the filing cabinet and opened a drawer. The scent of paper and dust drifted out. "I am conducting a long-term clinical study," he said, "on medication regimens, behavioral patterns, domestic stress, that sort of thing. I'd like you to keep detailed notes on Clara's daily behavior. Times she eats, how much she finishes, her mood, any odd comments." He handed me a notebook. The cover was blank, but the inside pages were lined with dates and categories ready to be filled. "This will help me adjust her treatment," he said. "You'll leave the notebook on my desk every night before you go to bed. Do you understand?" "Yes," I said, "I understand." As I turned to leave, he added, "Your cooperation is appreciated." The last housekeeper interfered. It didn't end well for her. I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't want to know. The first time I entered Clara's bedroom alone, it wasn't by choice. It was cleaning day. I had already changed the sheets in the guest rooms, vacuumed the hallway, wiped down the banisters. Clara and Samuel had gone out, taking Luna to some appointment. I was alone in the house. Clara's room was on the opposite side of the hallway from their master bedroom, smaller but no less elegant. Pale wallpaper, lace curtains, a vanity with neatly arranged perfumes and brushes. I made the bed, fluffing pillows, smoothing the comforter. As I tucked the sheet beneath the mattress, something hard knocked against my knuckles. There was a gap between the mattress and the wooden slats of the bed frame. Reaching into it, my fingers brushed against something flat and leather-bound. I hesitated. Rule 11 drifted into my mind: if you find something that does not belong to you, return it to Dr. Hawthorne immediately. I could have stopped then, pulled my hand back, walked out of the room. Instead, I gripped the object and pulled it out. It was a black leather journal, edges worn and softened by handling. No name on the cover, no lock. My heart pounded as if it already knew what was inside. I opened it. The first page was dated a year and a half earlier. January 3, he says the new maid will be better. He says the last one was too stubborn. He says he needs someone more receptive. I think he means obedient. I turned the page. January 10, the rules keep changing. He prints them and leaves them in my room. He says they're necessary for my treatment. I don't know what the treatment is supposed to cure. My fear, my memory, another page. February 2, I heard her again tonight, in the attic. She was crying. He told me there was no one up there. He told me the screaming was in my head. He gave me more pills. I took them because I am afraid of what happens if I don't. My hands trembled. I flipped further. March 15, they brought a new servant. She's young. He says I'm imagining things, but I know what happened to the last one. I saw the stains. I heard her hands beating on the ceiling above my room. I heard her voice get weaker and weaker until it stopped. He told me she left. People don't leave with their fingernails torn and blood on the beams. A chill slithered up my spine. At the top of one page, in larger, darker letters, written as if the pen had nearly ripped the paper, was the sentence that carved itself into my brain: do not trust the servant she kills without leaving marks. I stared at the words. Do not trust the servant. What servant, me? But this entry was dated months before I came, unless I read the lines below. He keeps telling me she's dangerous, that she hurt herself, that she hurt others. But I saw the way he strapped her down. I saw the wires. I saw the way he watched her break. He says it's for science. He says I am sick. I think he's the one who's sick. If someone finds this do not trust the servant, she's not who you think she is. He remade her. Remade her. I flipped to the end of the journal, pages fluttering under my fingers. The last entry stopped my breath. May 8, if Samuel realizes you've found this book, run. The door creaked behind me. I slammed the journal shut and whirled around. Samuel stood in the doorway. He was watching me with that soft, almost smile, but his eyes were blank. Doing a thorough job, I see, he said. Clara's room needed a good cleaning. The journal felt like it burned in my hands. My mind raced. Show it to him and admit I'd read it. Hide it behind my back and pretend nothing happened. Rule 11, if you find something that does not belong to you, return it to Dr. Hawthorne immediately. My pulse pounded in my ears. This was under the mattress, I said, forcing my voice not to shake. I think it's Clara's. I held out the journal. He took it, fingers brushing mine for a fraction of a second. Thank you, he said. You did the right thing. The way he said right felt like a trap. He looked down at the journal, flipping it open casually. Too casually. How much did you read? He asked. The truth hovered on my tongue. I swallowed it. Just the first page, I lied. I thought it might be private, so I stopped. He studied my face. Lies had never been my strength. I felt like every word I didn't say painted itself across my forehead. After a long moment, he closed the journal and smiled. I appreciate your respect for our privacy, he said. Not everyone in your position shows such restraint. He tucked the journal under his arm. I'll take this back to my office, he said. Clara's been instructed not to keep personal records during this phase of her treatment. It hinders progress. He left without another word. My knees nearly buckled with relief, but something in his eyes, something said he didn't believe me at all. That night, I dreamed I was in the attic. I could feel straps around my wrists and ankles, cold against my skin. A bright light shone in my face, blinding me. Shadows moved beyond its glare. A voice, Samuel's voice, asked questions I couldn't remember afterward. Every time I tried to answer, the words dissolved. Another voice begged from somewhere behind me. A woman's voice, Clara's or someone else's. Please, she sobbed. Please let her go. Please, the light grew hotter. My name sounded strange when they said it. Not Emily, something else. When I woke, my heart was racing and my pillow was damp. For a moment, in the dark, I had no idea where I was. The open doorway showed me the hallway, dimly lit by a nightlight at the far end. The shadows seemed to breathe. I sat up, pressing my hands to my temples. It was just a dream, I told myself, just a dream. But when I brought my hands down, I realized my wrists hurt, like they'd been rubbed raw by something. I stumbled to the bathroom and flicked on the light. There, barely visible but undeniably real, were faint red marks circling both wrists, like impressions left by tight straps. I stared at them, my reflection growing more distorted the longer I looked. Maybe I'd scratched myself in my sleep. Maybe I was developing psychosomatic symptoms from staying in this house. Maybe I was going crazy. I turned off the light and leaned my forehead against the cool mirror. From somewhere above me in the attic, I heard a soft, distant sound. A shuddering, broken sob. I covered my ears. The next morning, a new rule card waited on my nightstand. If you experience unusual dreams, report them to Dr. Hawthorne. He knew. The thought tunneled through my mind like a worm. He knew I was dreaming things he didn't want me to think about. He knew my mind was starting to pull at loose threads. Or had he planted the dreams himself? The new rule pulsed in my hand. If I told him, it'd be giving him direct access to my subconscious. If I didn't, it'd be disobeying. That day, I watched him more carefully. The way he adjusted Clara's medication without ever explaining the changes. The way he hovered over Luna's drawings, taking some and slipping them into his pocket. The way he looked at me sometimes like I was an equation he was excited to solve. In the evening, after dinner, he called me into his office again. "How are you sleeping, Emily?" he asked. I thought of the rule, the marks on my wrists, the sobbing in my dreams. "Fine," I said. His eyes narrowed just a little. "No vivid dreams?" he asked. "No unusual impressions?" I swallowed. "Nothing I can remember," I lied. We watched each other in silence. Finally, he nodded. "If anything does come up," he said quietly, "y'all tell me." "Want you?" He said it like a question. It wasn't a question. "Yes," I whispered. "I'll tell you." I walked out of his office feeling like I'd signed something with invisible ink. The tension in the house reached a breaking point a few weeks later. It was a Thursday. I remember because Thursday was grocery day. Samuel had left early for the hospital, or so he said. Luna was at school. I hadn't seen Clara all morning. I knocked on her door to check on her. No answer. "Mrs. Hawthorne?" I called softly. "It's Emily." Silence. My stomach twisted. I turned the knob slowly and stepped inside. The room was empty. The bed unmade, sheets twisted. The curtains half drawn. The vanity mirror smeared as if someone had run their fingers across it in frustration. The bathroom door was open. No one there. "Clara," I whispered. "Where are you?" A soft noise reached me from the hallway. A scuff. A creak. I stepped back out of the room. Halfway down the hall, at the bottom of the attic stairs, Clara stood barefoot in her nightgown, one hand on the banister, eyes fixed on the door at the top. She looked like she'd been standing there for hours. "Mrs. Hawthorne," I said gently, moving toward her. "Are you okay?" She didn't look at me, didn't blink. "He took her up there," she said. "He promised it would make everything better. He said I'll be safe afterward. He said she wouldn't feel anything." "Who?" I asked, though I already knew. "The last one," she whispered. "He said she was dangerous. Said she hurt Luna. Said I was too weak to help. So he helped. He always helps." Her laugh was a broken thing. "Do you know what it's like to hear someone begging above your head?" she asked. "To press your hands over your ears so hard you leave bruises and still hear them? To wake up and not know if it was real?" I swallowed hard. "I am so sorry," I said, because there was nothing else to say. She finally turned to me. "You think you're here to clean," she said, "to cook, to help." That's what she thought too. The last one, the one before her, and the one before that. I stared at her. "How many were there?" I asked. Her eyes slid back to the attic door. "I don't remember," she whispered. "That's the worst part. I used to, but every time I ask too many questions, he adjusts my medication. He says my memory is unreliable. He says I am getting better." She faced me fully then, gripping my hands. "Please," she said. "You still remember things. You still know who you were before you came here. Don't let him take that from you." I wanted to tell her I'd leave. That I'd find someone to help her. The police, a lawyer, anyone. But as soon as I pictured myself walking down that long driveway, I saw Samuel's face. He would know, he always knew. "And the rules, you have to come with me," I said instead. "We can go together. Right now, pack a bag. We'll go to the police. Well, show them your diary, your medication they want, believe me," she cut in. "I've tried before. He's a doctor. I am a mentally unstable housewife." They nod, take notes, and later he changes my pills and tells me I embarrassed us. Then I sleep for 3 days and wake up not knowing what season it is. Her hand squeezed mine harder, almost painfully. "You're the one they'll believe," she said. "You're still new, untouched. If you get out, you can tell them." "I can't just leave you," I protested. Her eyes shone with tears. "You have to," she said, "or you won't be you anymore." Another sound drifted down the hallway, the front door opening, closing. Samuel. Clara's grip loosened. The life seemed to drain from her all at once. "Go," she whispered. "He doesn't like it when I talk too much." She walked away from me down the hall toward her room. By the time Samuel reached the second floor, she was sitting on her bed, reading a book with trembling hands. Like she'd never moved. Like nothing had happened. That night, I packed a suitcase. Jeans, shirts, my old sneakers. The few books I couldn't bear to part with, my phone charger. I tucked everything into the suitcase as quietly as I could, my heart pounding against my ribs like it wanted to escape my chest. It was stupid to stay, I told myself. Insane. Something was deeply wrong in this house. Claire was being drugged and gaslit. Someone before me might have been hurt, or worse. And I was starting to see things, feel things, dream things that made less and less sense. I needed to go. Tonight, I left the suitcase by the door and slipped into the hallway. The house was dark. Only the nightlight at the end of the corridor cast a weak glow. My footsteps were nearly soundless as I crept toward the stairs. Every floorboard seemed to hold its breath beneath me. Downstairs, the grandfather clock in the entryway chimed midnight. I froze, listening. No other sounds. Samuel's bedroom door was closed. So was Clara's, Luna's. I descended the stairs, gripping the banister to steady my shaking legs. At the bottom of the staircase, the front door loomed ahead of me. Solid wood, heavy lock. The outside world just on the other side. I reached for the knob. It didn't turn. I frowned, trying again. Harder. Nothing. I tried the deadbolt. It wouldn't budge either. The house was silent, but the air felt suddenly thicker, like it was watching. Panic flared in my chest. I moved to the side door near the kitchen. Locked. The back door in the laundry room. Locked. The sliding doors to the patio. Locked. Not just locked, immovable, like someone had sealed them from the outside. My breaths came faster. It occurred to me that I had never actually seen these doors open since I arrived. People went out. Samuel took the car down the driveway. I'd seen him leave. I'd never followed. I'd never watched which door he used. Maybe I'd assumed more freedom than I actually had. Today's not a good day to leave. Samuel's words from weeks before echoed in my mind, cold and casual. I was still standing in the laundry room, staring at the unyielding back door when I heard his voice again. "Can't sleep, Miss Carter?" I spun around. He stood in the doorway, wearing dark pajama pants and a t-shirt, bare feet, hair a little mussed. He could have been any man caught in his own house at night, but his eyes were entirely awake. I was just my voice came out shaky, checking the doors. He smiled, the corners of his mouth curling up slowly. "You take your responsibilities very seriously," he said. "But there's no need. We're quite safe here." He stepped further into the room. My pulse hammered. I thought I heard something in the yard. I lied. "I wanted to make sure I told you," he said softly. "If you hear noises, especially at night, you should ignore them. The mind plays tricks in the dark." He paused, head tilted. "Unless, of course, the noises are coming from the attic. In that case, the rule is very clear, isn't it?" My mouth went dry. "Yes," I whispered. He gazed at me for a long moment. "You've been under stress," he said. "New environment, demanding job, my wife's condition. It can be overwhelming." I fought the urge to step back as he approached. "I know what it's like to feel trapped," he continued. "To feel like the walls are closing in, like you can't get enough air. I'd hate for you to feel that way here. This is your home now, your safe space." His hand brushed my shoulder lightly. "Go back to bed, Emily," he said softly. "You'll feel better in the morning." I wanted to scream at him that this wasn't my home, that it'd never be safe here. Instead, I nodded. I went back upstairs, leaving my packed suitcase behind the closed door of my bedroom. The next morning, the suitcase was gone. In its place, on my bed, was a new rule card. Attempts to leave without prior discussion will be considered a violation of trust. My skin crawled as I read it. The card smelled faintly of jasmine and something metallic. After that night, I knew one thing for certain: if I wanted to leave this house, I couldn't just walk out the front door. I'd need proof. Evidence strong enough that the police couldn't ignore it. Something tangible to make my story more than just a frightened housekeeper's paranoia. Which meant I'd have to find whatever Samuel didn't want me to see. I started watching more closely. The times he went into the basement, the way he always locked the door afterward, the small key he kept on a chain under his shirt, the way he talked to me like I was half patient, half project. In the evenings, after dinner, I saw him leading Clara into his office. The door would close. I'd hear low voices, sometimes a muffled protest, then silence. Clara would emerge later, eyes glassy, steps unsteady. She'd go straight to bed without speaking. Once, as she passed me in the hallway, she stumbled. I reached out to steady her. Up close, I saw a small bandage inside the crook of her elbow. The kind nurses put after drawing blood. "Are you okay?" I asked softly. She looked at me dazed. "They keep taking pieces," she murmured. "Little by little. Blood, thoughts, memories. Soon there will be nothing left." She sagged against me, and I guided her to her room, heart twisting. Samuel appeared a few seconds later at the end of the hall, watching. "How is she?" he asked. "Tired," I said tightly. "Maybe you're pushing her too hard." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Scientific progress requires sacrifice, he said. Clara understands that. I doubted that very much. The night everything broke open, the sky was full of lightning. Thunder rolled over the house like an approaching train. Rain hammered against the windows, the kind of storm that made the world feel smaller. Wed just finished dinner. Clara had barely eaten. Luna sat silently, her hands stained with pencil smudges, eyes distant. As I cleared the plates, she slipped something under my hand, a folded piece of paper. Our fingers brushed, and she looked up at me with a seriousness too old for her face. "Don't read it here," she whispered. "Read it when he can't see you." She flicked her eyes toward Samuel, who sat at the head of the table, sipping wine. My heart beat faster. I slid the paper into my apron pocket. Later, in the privacy of my small bathroom with the fan on to mask sounds, I unfolded the note with trembling fingers. Inside was a drawing, the attic again, the beams, the strapped-down figure. But this time, the face was clearer. It was me, long hair parted the way I wore it, the same dress, the same small necklace my mother had given me years ago. Above the drawing, in crooked letters, Luna had written, "He says he can fix you too." My hands shook so hard the paper rattled. He'd been talking about me, to his own child, as if I were a broken appliance, as if I were next. I wanted to run to Luna's room and demand answers. I wanted to hide the drawing somewhere safe. I wanted to burn the house down. Instead, I folded the paper and tucked it into the lining of my pillowcase. If they searched my room, it was the one place they probably wouldn't look. The storm raged late into the night. Lightning flashes lit my bedroom in brief, stark bursts. Between them, the house felt like it didn't exist, suspended in blackness. I lay awake listening. Sometime after midnight, above the thunder and rain, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate. They passed my door, then sharper footsteps. Faster, lighter. "Luna." I sat up, pulse spiking. The footsteps moved toward the attic stairs. A door creaked. There was a murmur of voice-sown adult, one small then silence as the door closed. I swung my feet out of bed. I shouldn't. Every rule, every warning screamed at me not to move. I moved anyway. My feet were almost soundless on the floor. I paused at my doorway, peering into the hallway. No one there. The attic door at the far end stood slightly ajar. A thin strip of light glowed beneath it. Lightning flashed, thunder crashed, the house shivered. I slipped into the hallway and crept toward the stairs, every breath feeling like an offense. Up close, the attic door seemed even smaller, like a portal to somewhere the house didn't want anyone to go. I placed my hand on the knob. Time stretched. Then, slowly, I pushed it open. The attic smelled of dust and something bitter, like old metal and antiseptic. The room was larger than I expected, the ceiling sloping low on both sides. A single bright light bulb hung from the rafters, glaringly white against the darkness beyond its reach. Underneath the light in the center of the room was a chair, not just any chair, a heavy wooden one bolted to the floor with leather straps attached to the arms and legs. Stains dotted the wood beneath it. Dark, irregular stains. My stomach turned. Tables lined one side of the attic, covered with equipment wires, electrodes, monitors, notebooks filled with dense, spidery handwriting. On the other side, filing cabinets stood like silent sentinels. But it was the wall at the far end that froze me. Photographs. Dozens of them pinned in neat rows, all of women. Different ages, different faces. All wearing the same uniform black dress, white apron. Housekeepers. Their eyes shared the same expression, a mix of confusion, fear, and something like resignation. One photo near the center had a red X scrawled across it. The woman in it looked younger than me. Her hair was cut short, her smile strained. Underneath, someone had written a date. The date was 6 months before I arrived. Beautiful, isn't it? The voice behind me made my heart slam against my ribs. I spun around. Samuel stood at the top of the stairs, the attic door closed behind him. He wore no expression at all. He didn't look surprised to see me. Humans have always been fascinated by their own minds, he said, stepping fully into the attic. We write books, build religions, fight Warsaw in service of beliefs and fears we barely understand. But here he gestured to the equipment, the chair, the photographs. Here we take the mystery apart, piece by piece. I backed away from him, every instinct screaming. "What is this?" I whispered. "What did you do to them?" He glanced at the photographs. "Clinical trials," he said calmly. "Explorations of obedience, identity, memory. How far can a person be pushed before they break? How many times can they be remade? How much of who we are is fixed, and how much can be redesigned?" "Redesigned?" I repeated, horrified. He smiled, mildly amused. "You still think of yourself as stable," he said. "As a single, continuous person. Emily Carter, housekeeper with financial problems and a sentimental streak. But you've already changed more than you realize." He moved toward the table with the equipment, fingers trailing over the wires. "The brain is adaptable," he continued. "Under the right conditions, stress, fear, isolation, it becomes even more so. Add the right pharmaceuticals, the right stimuli, and we can erase, rewrite, restructure." My voice shook. "You experimented on them," I said. "The other housekeepers. You strapped them to that chair and learned," he interrupted. "We learned which parts of loyalty can be strengthened, which parts of memory can be suppressed. What happens when you remove guilt, or empathy, or the sense of self?" He looked at me with a clinical fascination that made me feel like an insect pinned to a board. "Some fractured," he said. "Some dissociated. Some became beautifully compliant for a while. And some," he nodded toward the wall of photographs. "Some were not resilient enough to survive the process." My knees felt weak. "And Clara," I managed. "What did you do to her?" He waved a hand dismissively. "Collateral involvement," he said. "She married a different man, a weaker man, the real Samuel Hawthorne. He lacked vision, but his credentials were useful. When he passed, there was a transition period." I stared at him. "When he passed," I repeated. "Samuel, if that was even his name," smiled thinly. "His death was unfortunate," he said, "but it created an opportunity." The room seemed to sway. "Who are you?" I whispered. For the first time, his smile vanished completely. "I am the only one in this house who understands what's at stake," he said. "What can be achieved? Your name, my name, these details are irrelevant. What matters is the work." He took a step toward me. "I chose you carefully, Emily," he said. "Your financial desperation, your lack of close family, your history of being underestimated. You were perfectly primed." I backed into the strap chair, the wood cold against my legs. "Primed for what?" I asked. His eyes gleamed. "For success," he said. "You've shown more resistance than the others, more intelligence. You disobeyed, but selectively. You lied, but not about everything. You're not broken yet. That makes you valuable." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small and metallic. For a split second, I thought it was a syringe. It was a remote. He pressed a button. Behind me, there was a soft, mechanical click. Hands grabbed my shoulders. I screamed, twisting, but 2 figures stepped out of the shadows, large men in black clothing, the kind of men you didn't know existed until you needed something unpleasant done. I hadn't even realized we weren't alone. They forced me into the chair. Leather straps wrapped around my wrists, my ankles, my chest. Tight, unforgiving. I thrashed, breath coming in short, panicked bursts. Stop, Samuel said calmly. You're only wasting energy. I glared at him, chest heaving. You can't do this, I gasped. This is illegal. Insane. People will notice I'm gone. My landlord, your landlord thinks you moved for a better job, he said smoothly. Your few friends received a text from you last week telling them you're starting fresh in another state. I helped you send it. My blood turned to ice. My phone. He had my phone. Clara knows, I said desperately. She knows what you're doing. Luna knows. They'll tell someone. He chuckled. Clara barely remembers what year it is, he said. And Luna children say many strange things. They're rarely believed. He picked up a set of electrodes and moved closer. You should be proud, he said softly. You're about to become part of something historic. Please, I choked. Please don't do this. For the first time, something like genuine emotion flickered across his face. Fear, he said quietly. It's always strongest right before we begin. He leaned in. But you won't remember this part. That's the kindness of the method. He placed one cold electrode against my temple, then another. The bright attic light seemed to swell, filling my vision. My own terrified reflection shimmered in its glass. Don't worry, Emily, he murmured. When we're done, you'll be perfect. He reached for the switch on the machine. Daddy, stop. The small voice cut through the air like a knife. Samuel's hand froze. We both turned. Luna stood at the top of the stairs, rain-damp hair clinging to her cheeks, eyes fierce. In her hands, she clutched something small and black. A phone, but not mine, Clara's. I told you to stay in your room, Samuel said, his voice finally cracking with real anger. She stepped into the attic, chin trembling but held high. I called them, she said. I called the number Mommy told me, and I told them everything. For a moment, the room held nothing but silence and the distant rumble of thunder. Who did you call? Samuel asked, voice low. The police, she whispered. Samuel laughed, but the sound was brittle. They won't find this place, he said. You gave them the wrong address last time, remember? Your mother's confusion is contagious. I didn't give them the address, she said. I turned on the camera. She lifted the phone slightly, thumb hovering over the screen. Red light. Recording. The attic, the chair. Me strapped down, wires attached. Samuel standing over me with electrodes, all of it. I sent it, she said, to Mommy's friend. The one she called when you were in the basement. The one who told her to keep a record. She said if something ever happened again, she'd come. She works with the police. Samuel's expression flickered just for a moment. You're lying, he said, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. Luna's hand shook, but she didn't back down. If you hurt her, she said, nodding toward me, they'll see. A siren wailed in the distance. Distant, but growing louder. Samuel moved faster than I thought he could. He lunged for Luna. She bolted down the stairs. Don't let her reach the front door. He roared to the two men behind me. One of them released my leg strap and stepped toward the stairs. The other moved to follow and then grunted, collapsing. Behind him, breathing hard, stood Clara. She held a heavy metal wrench in both hands, knuckles white. Her eyes were clearer than I'd ever seen them. For a second, no one moved, then everything exploded. The second man turned, lunged for Clara. She swung the wrench again, wild, desperate. It connected with his shoulder, not his head, but it was enough to stagger him. Emily, she screamed. The buckle. I twisted my freed leg, straining against the remaining straps. The man shed hit lurched toward me, hand reaching for my throat. Clara jumped onto his back, wrench arcing down toward his temple. He crashed to the floor. She dropped the wrench, rushed to my side, fingers fumbling with the buckles. We don't have time, she gasped. They're coming. Who? I choked. The police? Everyone, she said. Everyone he's ever lied to. Sirens wailed louder now, closer. Tires screeched on gravel outside. Downstairs, doors slammed. Voices shouted. Samuel's footsteps pounded down the stairs in pursuit of Luna. The last strap snapped free. I stood on shaking legs. Clara grabbed my face with both hands. "Do you remember who you are?" She demanded, eyes searching mine. "Yes," I whispered, "I am Emily." Images flickered in my mind. Me strapped to the chair, but not tonight, other times. Flashes of light. Questions, sleep, my stomach lurched. How many times I began. No, she cut me off. "Don't follow that thread now. You'll unravel. Just remember this, you wanted to leave. You wanted to help." He tried to break that. You fought back. She squeezed my shoulders. "Can you run?" she asked. I nodded, though I wasn't sure. She smiled, a small, fierce thing. "Good," she said. "Then run." We rushed down the attic stairs. At the second floor landing, we nearly collided with Luna. She stood at the end of the hall, clutching the phone, tears streaming down her face. "He locked the front door," she sobbed. "He always does." "It's okay," I said, grabbing her hand. "The police are here. They'll get in." The sound of pounding on the front door echoed through the house. "Police, open up." Samuel's voice floated from below, smooth and controlled, already slipping into his professional mask. One moment, "Officers," he called, "My wife is unwell. Let me just a crack." Wood splintering, they weren't waiting. "Third floor," Clara said, breathing hard. "Fire escape." I stared at her. "There's a fire escape?" I asked. She smiled bitterly. "There's always an escape," she said. "He just doesn't like us to remember." We tore down the hall to a storage room I'd barely entered before. Clara shoved aside an old wardrobe, revealing a small window with rusted latches. Beyond it, the metal skeleton of a fire escape clung to the side of the house like a secret. Clara pushed the window open. Rain lashed in, cold and sharp. "You first," she told Luna. Luna hesitated for half a second, then climbed through, swinging her small legs onto the fire escape. I followed, heart in my throat, feeling the metal slick beneath my hands. The wind whipped my hair into my face. I glanced back. Clara stood in the window, silhouetted against the dim room. "Aren't you coming?" I shouted over the storm. Her eyes were strangely calm. "It'll only slow you down," she said. "No," I protested. "Well, help you." "Well, someone has to tell them where the bodies are," she said quietly, "and where the files are, and what he did to us." Her gaze flicked upward toward the attic. "And to you," she added, her voice cracking. My stomach twisted. "What he did to me," I repeated. She smiled sadly. "You think you're the first," she said. "You never were, but maybe you'll be the last." Voices shouted inside the house now. Boots thundered on the stairs, the muffled crack of a taser, a shout of pain. Clara's eyes filled with tears. "Take care of her," she said, nodding toward Luna. "Please." Then she slid the window closed. "Clara," I cried, banging on the glass. She turned away, disappearing into the shadows of the room. "Come on," Luna shouted from below. "We have to go." I forced myself to move. Down the fire escape. Cold metal under my bare feet. Rain soaking my dress. The night air sharp in my lungs. By the time we reached the bottom, the yard was full of flashing lights, police cars, an ambulance. Officers surrounded the house, weapons drawn. One saw us climbing down and shouted for others. "Over here, we've got them." Strong hands grabbed my arm, steadying me as my legs nearly gave out. "It's okay," a voice said. "You're safe now." I wanted to believe him. I wasn't sure I did. The days that followed existed in a fog of questions, forms, and fluorescent lighting. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and overcooked vegetables. Nurses moved like ghosts in comfortable shoes. Doctors asked the same things over and over. "Name, date of birth, do you know where you are?" Can you describe your employment with Dr. Hawthorne? I sat on a bed in a thin gown, fingers worrying at the edge of the blanket, trying to peel reality apart from what happened in that house. They showed me photos, the attic, the chair, the equipment. This is a sophisticated, illegal clinical setup, one investigator said. We're still cataloging everything. There are files going back years. Not under his real name, of course. Do you know his real name? Another asked. I shook my head. To you, I said slowly, he was Samuel. To himself, he was the only one who mattered. They nodded, jotting notes. They asked about the previous housekeepers. I saw photos, I said. I read some of Clara's diary. She remembers more, I think, or she did. But he played with her memories. I don't know how much is left. They exchanged glances. And you? One asked gently. Do you remember everything that happened to you in that house? I stared at my wrists. The marks from the straps had mostly faded, but I could still feel the indent of leather if I closed my eyes. I remember enough, I said. That's not what I asked, he said. I thought of the dreams, the flashes, the moments that felt like déjà vu inside déjà vu. I don't know, I admitted. Sometimes I feel like I am remembering someone else's life, or a movie I watched when I was a kid, not my own. The doctors called it trauma. They talked about dissociation, memory fragmentation, the brain protecting itself. But sometimes, late at night, staring at the ceiling, I heard his voice in my head. We can erase, rewrite, restructure. What if there were entire pieces of me missing? What if he'd already done to me what he'd done to the others and I simply couldn't remember? I saw Luna again during a supervised meeting. She sat in a plastic chair across from me, clutching a stuffed animalone the hospital staff had given her. Her hair was neatly brushed, but her eyes were older than any child's should be. How's your mom? I asked. She shrugged, looking down. Sometimes she remembers, Luna said. Sometimes she forgets. They're trying to help her remember the right parts. She looked up at me. Do you think there are right parts? She asked. Or are they all just parts? I wasn't sure how to answer that. Do you remember everything? I asked her gently. Her lips pressed together. I remember enough, she said, echoing my own words. We sat in silence for a moment. Why did you help me? I asked. She frowned. What do you mean? You warned me about the attic, I said. You drew those pictures. You called for help. You didn't have to. You could have done nothing. She picked at the seam of the stuffed animal. He told me once, she said slowly, that the brain can learn anything if you repeat it enough. That if you tell someone a story over and over, they'll believe it, even if it's not true. She looked at me. But I watched him tell mommy stories until she didn't know which parts were real anymore. She continued. And he started telling them to you too, about how you were safe, how this was your home, how you didn't want to leave. Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't want that for you, she whispered. My throat tightened. Thank you, I said, for saving me. She smiled faintly. You saved me too, she said. You listened. She stood when the social worker signaled the end of the visit. At the door, she turned back. Will they put him in jail? She asked. For real? I hope so, I said. She studied my face as if she could see all the doubt I wasn't saying. If they don't, she said quietly, you should run farther next time. Then she was gone. Weeks passed. The news cycle made a feast of the Hawthorne estate scandal. Renowned doctor exposed as monster scientist. Illegal experiments conducted in hidden attic lab. Victims struggle to piece their minds back together. They called us victims, subjects, survivors. I wasn't sure which one fit. One afternoon, an investigator visited my small apartment, one the hospital social worker helped me find. It was nothing like the Hawthorne mansion, but the smallness felt safe. He sat at my wobbly kitchen table, flipping through a folder. "We thought you'd want to know," he said. "There's been a development in the case." My stomach dropped. "What kind of development?" I asked. "They confirmed his real identity," he said. "He was never Samuel Hawthorne. The real Samuel died in a car accident 2 years ago. This man assumed his credentials, forged documents, used stolen identities. We're still unraveling the network." I gripped my mug of tea more tightly. "What about Clara?" I asked. "She's complicated," he said. "There's clear evidence of long-term psychological abuse and medical manipulation. The courts are being cautious, but she's out of the house. That's something." "And him?" I asked. "Is he?" He hesitated. "He's in a secure psychiatric facility," he said, "under heavy observation. He'll be evaluated for trial competency." I exhaled slowly. "Does he remember what he did?" I asked. The investigator's lips twisted. "Oh, he remembers," he said. "He just doesn't think any of it was wrong." He closed the folder. "There's one more thing," he said. "We found something in the attic we thought you should be aware of." My heart thudded. "What?" I whispered. He slid a photograph across the table. My hands shook as I picked it up. It was one of the photos from the wall in the attic, the wall of housekeepers. This one showed a young woman in the same black dress, white apron, standing in the Hawthorne kitchen. Her hair was shorter, her face rounder. But her eyes, they were my eyes. I stared at the photo. "That's impossible," I whispered. "I've never that can't be me." The investigator watched me carefully. "There's no date written on the back," he said. "But based on other files near it, we estimate it was taken about 8 months before you started working there." My head spun. "No," I said, "you don't understand. I applied for the job 3 months ago. I met him once at the interview. I moved in the next week. Before that, I was working at a hotel. I can show you the pay stubs, the paperwork. I've never memory is fragile," he said gently. "We've seen records indicating he may have tested certain protocols on you before your official employment. Outpatient sessions, interviews." I shook my head, tears pricking my eyes. "I would remember," I said. "I would remember if I'd met him before, if I'd been in that house before." He looked at me with something like pity. "Would you?" he asked softly. The room seemed to tilt. I looked again at the photograph. The girl in it stared back at me with my face and a different history. "How many times," I whispered, "can you rewrite a person before they stop being themselves?" The investigator didn't answer. After he left, I sat alone at the table, the photo in front of me. The silence pressed in. In the distance, faintly, a siren wailed. I closed my eyes. For a moment, I was back in the attic. The light, the chair, his voice. "We can erase, rewrite, restructure." I opened my eyes and looked around my small kitchen. The peeling paint, the leaning stack of cheap dishes. The plant on the windowsill I was trying, clumsily, to keep alive. I took a deep breath. "My name is Emily Carter," I said aloud. The sound of my own voice anchored me. "I grew up in a small town," I went on, forcing myself to stack facts like bricks. "My mother died when I was 20. I worked at a hotel for 3 years. I lost that job. I took a position as a live-in housekeeper at the Hawthorne estate. I survived." The word felt strange in my mouth. I picked up a pen and pulled a notebook toward me. On the first page, I wrote things I know are true. I wrote my name, my age, my favorite book. The song that always made me cry. The way my mother's laugh sounded when she was trying not to wake the neighbors. Tears blurred the ink. When I finished, I closed the notebook and placed it in the top drawer of my desk, in case I ever needed to remember again. Sometimes, late at night, I think about the others, the housekeepers in the photos, the ones whose names I'll never know. I think about Clara, sitting in some quiet facility, trying to separate her own memories from the stories she was fed. I think about Luna, drawing new pictures in new notebooks, maybe of houses that aren't haunted by experiments. And I think about him, locked away, minds far better trained than mine studying his. Part of me knows I am supposed to want him punished, jailed, forgotten. Another part of me knows he would enjoy the attention of any trial. The chance to explain his theories to a captive audience. Victims are only victims if they stay that way, my therapist tells me. You are more than what he did to you. I want to believe her. Most days I do, but there's one thought I can't shake. One question that loops in the back of my mind like a recording on repeat. If they dug deep enough into his files, if they decrypted every hard drive, opened every locked drawer, how many times would they find my name? How many different versions of me is he responsible for? And out of all those versions, how can I be sure this one is the most complete, the most authentic, the most me? Sometimes when I drift off to sleep, I hear a voice, not his, mine, whispering from somewhere higher, like a memory stored in the attic of my own mind. If you found a diary in your employer's bedroom and the first page said, "Do not trust the servant she kills without leaving marks," would you read the next line or run for your life? I didn't run, I read the next line. I wish I could tell you that was my last mistake, but maybe the truth is this: the story isn't over yet. Because every day, when I wake up and look in the mirror, I have to answer the same question all over again. Do I trust the person looking back at me? And I still don't know if the answer is yes. Did you enjoy this story and want more chilling tales like this? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.